There's so much to gain by just letting your brilliant people do what they can rather than just keep controlling them.
Alvanson So joins Shana Sino, one of the world's top 30 motivational speakers, on the Fearless Possibilities podcast. Vanson is a regional people lead for Canva Philippines and a certified HR professional. With over a decade of experience, Alvanson is passionate about creating environments where people can do their best work.
Leaders are multipliers. If your coaches are zeros, anything you multiply to zero is zero. But then if you invest in them and they become ones or twos, and then you multiply them, then your twos becomes fours. When you build organization where psychological safety is top of mind, openness, diversity, inclusivity are part of the fabric of how we work. If you knew that you could do something different to make somebody feel included or recognized and felt seen, you should. And so that was something that I felt I needed to do as a leader.
What is one small act a leader can do to make someone in the organization feel truly seen?
Have genuine conversations outside work.
If every leader would stop for 60 seconds to listen to this podcast, what is that one message that you would like to share with them? So, Vanson, thank you so much for joining us here on the Fearless Possibilities podcast. You lead people in culture for one of the most admired organizations in the world, Canva. Everyone practically uses Canva. Who was the first leader that truly shaped how you lead today?
I have many mentors that I would call leaders that has helped shape who I am as a leader today. But I will never forget the first time that Canva's founder, Melanie Perkins, flew over to Manila and meet me during my first few months. And we had a one-on-one and I had to introduce myself to her. And because my role at that time was still quite unique to Canva, but then that conversation ended with me asking her for advice on how she would want me to show up at work, since I come from a very traditional, very corporate landscape, and then coming into something very vibrant, startup-y like Canva. And I can't forget what she told me. She told me that if ever I do find myself in a situation where I could choose to be kind, choose kindness, which to me, during that time, I could not wrap my head around, because when you wear your HR hat, you have to stay neutral, represent the company, equally represent the employee, which we call Canva nuts in Canva. It's not easy to always play the kindness card, because sometimes you have to follow the laws, the policies. But 6.5 years in, I think that has helped steer how we grew as a company, as a campus. It also has helped grow me into a leader that I thought I would never be.
What does a traditional leadership look like in the corporate versus the leadership in Canva?
I think that there's nothing wrong with how corporates run their company. I think they are the fathers and mothers of modern day organization. But I feel like, at least within Canva, the mantra or the philosophy of people over policy, I think is lived more compared to most other frameworks where it's mostly policies first before people. And I think because there is that drive to stay away from setting the wrong precedents or trying to be more fair. So you treat others the same so that nobody ends up comparing. But when you really wear the hat of putting the people first, you just can't do a one-size-fits-all approach, which is a common approach you'll see. And this has helped me really rethink and rewire myself to see that it's actually one-size-fits-one. And when you magnify that to 900 people in the Philippines or 5,000 people globally, it just puts a very different spin on how you work as an HR professional.
Wow. I like that. Choose to be kind and people over policy. Can you share us a moment or a story wherein you had to choose kindness or you had to choose people over policy?
Definitely the pandemic opened up the doors to unconventional HR practices, right? Literally, when we went into lockdown, I think it was March 13, very memorable day. Every HR person, I think, threw their textbook out the window because nothing prepares you for a pandemic.
Right.
And as we tried to really maneuver and navigate this new ambiguity and try to support people as well as they go through the peaks of uncertainty, right? You don't know if you still have a job. You don't know, how you're going to fend for yourself when everybody's stuck at their homes and trying to navigate things by themselves. We introduce, I would like to say, at least from my experience, very out of the box thinking where we literally unlock unlimited leaves, for people to really just focus on themselves. There was a moment where we canceled performance reviews. So not to put pressure on people to perform, because how can you when you're struggling to find food?
Right.
Or have old people at home that you're very fearful of catching the virus, for example. Instituted benefits and perks to help people assimilate work into their homes. And more importantly, when many companies stopped these initiatives when we went back to normal, I truly admire the leadership of Canva, where we push for these things to remain even after the world has went back. Right? So these perks have stayed. And I'm very proud to see people, they don't abuse it. They don't manipulate the system. And one of our values is being a force for good and be a good human. And you really see these two play their role as we emerge from the pandemic. And today, as we scale into Southeast Asia, these are the same driving force that makes Canva truly Canva.
That is so refreshing to hear because, for example, I have a little company and I can easily make decisions. I don't need to get the approval of someone else, which means if I say, okay, team, let's not work today, I can easily do that. But for a big company like Canva, it is so refreshing that you can actually do that as well. You can do those like unlimited leaves. So my next question is, how do you make sure that at a large scale, how do you make sure that those kindness, acts of kindness are not being abused or manipulated?
I think we all have to start with values. What I really love about the company I'm with is that the values are not simple posters you'd see on the wall. Even the language of our values are sprinkled within our policies, within our practices and programs, to really reinforce the fact that when we act, whether as a employee, a representative of the company, as leaders, or what we call coaches, we truly embody these things in the way we decide, in the way we transact with the company and with its people. And when we take a look at situations like the pandemic, or even outside the pandemic, when we make strategic decisions, right, we always think owner's mindset. So when you bundle values aligned individuals who are also fully subscribed to what the company wants to achieve as an organization, which is to empower the world to design, to democratize the ability to create beautiful things, to be a force for good and make an impact in not just the company, but in the community that it serves. When you start to build the Legos of what truly makes a Canva not, then decisions like these are not that difficult to make, because you know that people understand the why behind we do certain things. And because of such a strong culture, it also helps protect how people show up at work, because people know that, we have to be good humans. We can't do this. So we practice integrity, we practice accountability, and those around you remind you that you're held on to a high bar of what it means to be a Canva employee. And that helps keep the fabric tightly knit so that you all, flow through smoothly when the times are good, but more importantly, when times are not.
you have a huge role when it comes to shaping the culture of your company because you are the lead people and culture in your company. So far, what are you most proud of in your role?
Hmm. So I've been in the company for 6.5 years, and when I
Mhm.
joined, I was roughly employee 250. So the company was relatively big enough
Yeah.
compared to when it was 5 years before I joined, where there were maybe 10 of them. Right? So it has reached a certain point where it was quite a well-known company. It wasn't that hard to bring people in. And when I joined, I think I remember I told my hiring manager that my goal is to get us to 500 headcount. And now today we're close to 900 and then now expanding into Southeast Asia. And most of the growth happened during the pandemic as well.
Uh-huh.
Through hardships and through ambiguities, we were able to bag really good recognitions on how we do employment engagement and how we take care of our employees, great place to work, employer of choice awards, all of these, I think are evidence that what we're doing is correct.
Mhm.
What we're doing is right. Right. And so I believe that my proudest moment is still unfolding.
Mhm.
It is not a destination,
Mhm.
right? I mean, after we establish Canva as a great place to work, and then what, right? And so we have to continue evolving when the age of AI,
Yes.
and how the industry has shifted, especially in the technology scene. We really need to keep abreast and make sure that the campus, the people in it are future ready, future fit. And those are the things that I'm really excited and looking forward to. Yeah.
Mhm. If we zoom in on some of the initiatives that you introduced to your company Canva or to the previous companies where you worked for or worked with, what is that one initiative that you could say made a huge impact to the organization?
Well, to answer that question, I think we have to somehow compartmentalize certain periods.
Yeah.
Because when I joined, Canva as a whole was around 600 people globally, so a fraction of what it is today. And at that point, you really have a lot of ability to author new
Mhm.
things, right?
Yeah.
And really proud to say that we have one of the most unique um, process in evaluating people's impact. We
Mhm.
don't call them performance; it's the impact to the work, to the company, and to the community. And I have helped co-design that when I was new. We also introduce things that typically startups don't subscribe to, which is org structures and leveling. We want to keep things flat, keep things
Mhm.
people collaborating, and I guess I would like to reference that as one of the most exciting moments that I helped shape, because what we produced earlier is still what we have today. It did evolve a little bit uh, for the better, of
Mhm.
course, but I'm very fortunate to be part of those moments when we were able to shape how Canva will be, which we're reaping the benefits of today.
Mhm. So how do you measure the impact
So we take a
of
look at, of
individuals?
course, the reactions and the sentiments of our employees.
Mhm.
And as we grow, typically you'll see, and in many organizations, not just in Canva, typically the peak moments, or what we call them, oftentimes get reduced as
Mhm.
companies grow, as companies mature. And it's really nice to see that we're able to preserve these unique moments that truly make Canva special. Despite the growth, despite the scale, despite having footprints in more regions and more geographies, w- we have this test that we could say that if, for example, you are in a campus
Mhm.
and then we blindfold you and then we ship you to a different office, you would know that it's a Canva office.
Mm.
There's that consistency in terms of how it feels to be part of that campus, the culture that you technically could feel, could breathe, could take in, and the type of people that you work with, I think is something that I'm very happy to see that we're able to maintain
Mhm.
despite all the changes that we had to go through. And I think it's part of our strategy to stay uniquely Canva, but without having to, fall into that trap of copying or shifting strategies just to make sure we keep up with how things are in the outside world.
Yes.
So I think that takes a lot of intentionality, right? It's very easy to just adopt what's click or what's trendy outside, and holding on to what makes you can sometimes be not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. I'm very curious about your journey as a leader. But before that, I just want to ask one more question related to Canva. What does your culture look like in Canva?
Outside looking in, many people, I think, would associate Canva to be a fun workplace, right? You'll see people, going through parties, unboxing very nice swags, or celebrating milestones as they traverse their Canva journey, which is good. I mean, we do celebrate these things in this way, right? But I think behind the scenes, where it's not as obvious, is the immense amount of work that happens in the background. When you see people work together, whether remotely or together physically, you'll see the passion, the drive to really make good work. We have this saying that we are able to build a very amazing product is because we are supported by very amazing teams, right? And when you build an organization where psychological safety is top of mind, openness, diversity, inclusivity are part of the fabric of how we work, communication, practicing radical candor, and really welcoming different thoughts and opinions in a very safe, open way, I think just helps cultivate, a very different kind of energy in the workplace that you normally won't find anywhere else. Yeah. And that's why people ask me, like, is Canva a company you might see yourself retiring in? And I've never really looked elsewhere, because no day is the same, but tomorrow is always better than today.
Wow, that's a big thing to say, that you're not looking. I mean, you're happy with Canva. You're not exploring other companies. It says a lot about how much you love working in that company.
Yeah. There's so much to love. And also there's so much more to do. Just because you're given the leverage, a bit of autonomy to truly make certain programs resonate locally while still having to subscribe to what we do globally. And of course, what we can also see how Canva contributes to the community, is very empowering, and also helps make you feel proud of what your company stands for.
So, Vanson, let's say your 25-year-old self shadowed you for a day. What would surprise or confuse him the most about how you lead now?
I guess my 25-year-old self would want to be very focused on himself, right? To grow in your career. And if he would see me now, 15 years after, I think he would be quite pleased to see how much I've invested in the people that I work with. Not to lift my own bench or anything like that, but I would like to believe that I'm known to be a leader that really invests a lot of time growing people. The people who I've mentored, who've reported to me at some point in their careers, have become bigger versions of themselves, like took on leadership positions or take more senior roles. Some of them who've chosen to move on from Canva have become professionals that sit whether at the same level as me or even higher, which makes me really proud, right? I don't see this game as a competition. I think if I can teach them something that I know and they take it and run and build something from it, then I could say that I've helped that person. And the same way, I will also learn from them if I just witness them from the sidelines and cheer them on, right?
Yes.
So it's It's a very organic process of teaching and learning, which I really like. And I think my 25-year-old self would really be happy to see me.
So the way I see it, you've helped those leaders unlock their potential because probably you saw you saw what's good in them, you saw their strength. Can you share a story in your personal life wherein you felt seen by a leader in the workplace, and because of that, it unlocked something in you? It could be a leader, it could be someone else in the workplace.
This might sound very petty,
Mm-hmm.
but I could still fondly recall how this person made me feel. I have a colleague, her name is Linda. And there was this offsite, we call it offsite, where leads go out and do planning. It happened, unfortunately, during a time when senior leads outside Australia couldn't fly in to do it in person. And there were certain calls that were done in Zoom, so that you can collaborate meaningfully. But there's also those moments where we have to break out, right? And then that's when you start to log off because you can't participate because certain things like that are best done in person.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda sent me a Slack and said, "Hey, I really want you to be able to take part in these conversations because if you were here, I believe you had things that are worth listening to." And so she went back and took a spare laptop, logged it to Zoom, and carry me while I was dialing in. And I was this floating face on a table, listening on that breakout session and being able to contribute. In my mind, at that moment, I felt this was unnecessary. I don't want to be a burden. And I can't also hear them clearly, just simply because of the setup, right? But then I went beyond the physical and really saw somebody who advocated for my presence, who really saw that I can contribute, and my mere presence, whether it's virtual or not, was important. And so that was something that I felt I needed to do as a leader, to take cues that if you knew that you could do something different to make somebody feel included or recognized and felt seen, you should. So in little ways, like right now, when you see somebody in a meeting, like a 8-panel meeting where you have people talking and cross-talking, and you see somebody who's quiet or attempted to go unmute, but ended up not speaking, I tend to call them out. "Hey, I saw Sam went off mute. Is there anything you wanted to say?" Open windows for them to walk in. It may boil down to maybe a lack of confidence or just being more courteous, especially in the Philippine setting where we're not like the Westerners who can just speak on the fly, right? But being able to open these doors and these channels for people to express themselves and speak their minds and help them feel that, hey, I'm part of this meeting and I need to contribute meaningfully and that my thoughts and ideas matter, is very powerful. Doesn't require you to send them a formal invite to a meeting or to a conference, but these little acts, when you compound on a daily basis, sums up to a huge deal, especially for those that tend to dismiss themselves as not important, too junior, or people already said what I was about to say, so better just stay quiet.
Is that a skill that leaders can learn? Taking cues? Because, for example, what I see in the work happening in the workplace, especially amongst leaders, is that they tend to be very busy and sometimes they do not notice those subtle cues. So is that how can leaders learn more how to listen to those subtle cues from their team members?
Two ways to answer your question. Can it be learned? Definitely. So I learned it from Linda.
Yes.
I wasn't like that back in the day. There's this concept called leadership shadow, where the shadow that you cast is what people look up to. How you act and how you show up is how they would act and show up when they become leaders. So at that time, Linda was a far more senior leader than I was, and I saw her lead me in that manner. And that has helped shape how I lead those that I now call my team or my coachees, right? So definitely can be learned. In terms of why is it important for leads to pick up that skill, it's because I think as we go into the modern day organization where you hire brilliant people, right? It's a very huge missed opportunity if you don't hear from them. Why would you hire great people if you don't give them the stage to show us what they can do?
Right.
Right. It also takes I think it also takes off the burden from us leaders to always be the person to know everything.
Yes.
Right? I tend to talk a lot, which is evidence now. But I also find relief and some level of appreciation if you see a meeting or a working call that you find more people actually going through that mental friction to actually talk and bounce ideas and for you to spectate and see those that you lead really drive their ideas forward and take ownership. There's so much to gain by just letting your brilliant people, do what they can, right? Rather than just keep controlling them.
That's true. So you've been a leader for so many years now, decades.
Not really.
Not yet decades.
My first leadership role is just here at Canva. So I've been an individual contributor my entire life.
Oh, wow.
And then so when I joined Canva as an HRBP, in 6 months' time, when some certain reorgs happen internally, the head of HR or the country HR had to step up as the country manager. And so I had to move into this role, inheriting her old team. So it was my baptism under fire of sorts. Yeah. And so I had to learn how to lead very, very quickly.
What was the mindset shift like from being an individual contributor to suddenly become the lead of so many people in the organization?
I think we touched upon this already, where when you're an IC, you tend to just focus on the work and have this high sense of control of the outcome. But when you take on leadership position, whether it's frontline, second level, or senior leads, you have to really shift yourself into thinking that you are not simply a doer, but you're a multiplier. You have to be able to achieve things through others, right? And so that's why I think it's very important to invest in your team. I tell this to every newbie that ends up joining Canva under my team, that the aspirational goal is for them to redundate me. In some aspect, not literally, in some aspects of work. Like if I hire somebody who's really good with benefits, I'm not a benefits person. The goal is for you to redundate me in that aspect, to really drive that initiative forward and drive the thoughts, drive the leadership. And I can sponsor you or unblock you or wrangle the right stakeholders or unlock budgets, right? But then you do you, right? Because that's what you're good at, right? And I think that if a lead is able to pinpoint exactly how they could best support and empower their teams, they could truly achieve so much.
Wow. And to be able to do that, it takes also a lot of having quiet confidence in yourself. Because some leaders may feel threatened when some of the members of the team could be better than them and could potentially do better what they're currently doing.
Yes, in some ways. But the thing I tell myself when I start to think this way is that a bad thing? That somebody is better than you? Before I was a lead, somebody was better than me already. What has changed? Doesn't mean that if I became a lead, I'm always the smartest person in the room. Oftentimes, I find myself, especially in the company like Canva, you do end up showing up in these calls as a lead, but you end up being a fly on the wall. Just listening in on all the things that are being discussed by people far more experienced than you, far more brilliant than you, far more skillful than you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because and this is what my late grandfather taught me, is that if you think that you're always at the top, then where do you go from there? Right? So it's always good to set that expectation with yourself that there's always somebody better, which is good, because then you can strive to be that person and then find the next better person.
Right. So you have the perspective of someone who was once an individual contributor, I see, to now a leader.
Hmm. Yeah.
So from that perspective, what do you think are some of the most common leadership problems that organizations experience, and how do we tackle these problems?
In any organization, at least I've only been through 4 organizations. I can't speak in general terms, but I think it's really how to drive high performance within teams. Performance is such a subjective
Right.
concept because depending on where you are in the organization, your impact within your roles vary. The impact you would expect from a senior position far outsizes the impact you would expect from an entry level or a junior employee. But at its core, the biggest challenge I see many leaders have a hard time is driving a high performance culture through proactive, timely, kind feedback, being able to say things the way it should without sugarcoating, without trying to be the good cop, but the message that you're trying to send is a critical message. And the propensity of leaders to stay back and hope that the problem would fix itself. I learned from a mentor of mine, Coach Chot, who coaches basketball teams.
Chot Reyes, Coach Chot
Coach
Reyes.
Chot Reyes coined the adage that leadership is a contact sport. Like you cannot really lead if you don't go down and really, I wouldn't say, bump fists, but like you have to really go through difficult conversations. You have to go through coaching dialogues. You really have to step in if you feel like the person has been out of bounds. And I think if leaders don't do that well, then how could you expect your teams to perform well? Right? Going back to what I said a while back, leaders are multipliers. If your coaches are zeros, anything you multiply to zero is zero. Right? But then if you invest in them and they become ones or twos, and then you multiply them, then your twos becomes fours.
Yes.
Right? Your fours becomes 8. Right? And so I think that is why I found myself loving what I do. It's because you can truly see the growth unfold in front of you when people start to take on larger accountabilities, larger responsibilities that even they themselves thought that they couldn't. And that is the way that you can close the loop to tell you you've done well as a lead because you've seen your team achieve more than what they thought they could.
So speaking of feedback, you mentioned about feedback. What was the most difficult feedback that you've ever received, and how did that change you or your perspective?
I don't say this often, but I do say this a lot inside Canva because I think it's a good moral story. I've been tagged as an underperformer in the role that I do today. So let's put that on record, right? So, and the reason is because not that I wasn't able to do my job well, but I failed to advocate for the work that I do. At that junction in my career, I think I was still wearing a very large IC hat where I believed or I told myself that my work will speak for myself. But when you're in a situation or when you're in a position rather where because your work is done through others,
yes,
the work that the other people do is what is seen, not what you do for them or with them.
Right.
Tends to be overshadowed, right? And so when you fail to represent your ideas or advocate for what you've achieved, then it's easy for those above you to glaze over what you did and what they thought you didn't.
Yes.
And so the way to receive that feedback, I took it in as an area of opportunity for me not to flaunt right my achievements, but rather just to tell the stakeholders I work with how I've helped them, maximize, unpack, unblock, right? for them to be able to achieve what they need to achieve
Yes.
through guidance or through implementing certain programs that would help benefit their teams. And that's not bad. And this is also why what I advise some people who come to me and ask
Yes.
me, is it bad to tell my boss that I have done this and that? I said, no, not really. Especially if you think that you really took ownership. It's not just you shared everybody else's effort and then call it your own, right? That's a very different narrative. But if you truly believe that you did something that is worth speaking to, there's nothing wrong about advocating for yourself. Because if you don't, who will? Right? So you are your own spokesperson, right? But then before you even think about what you will speak about, do the work first. So you have something to talk about.
Right. I think that is a very powerful message. In colloquial conversations, sometimes when we do something, we say, "Okay, let's take a picture," because if there's no picture, this did not happen. There has to be some sort of proof.
Exactly. You encapsulate the moment, right?
Yes.
So that you have something to look back to.
Right. Thank you, Vanson. So you designed workplaces wherein people feel safe to speak up. Psychological safety is high. The level is high. What does that look like? How did you design that? And if leaders are listening to us right now and they're saying, "Oh, in our company, people are afraid to speak up. There are muted meetings," what can you share on how they could design psychologically safe environment for their team?
I think from how I see it's done well, it's a sandwich approach. You do it from the top down, and then you also have to cultivate that sense of openness and candor and psychological safety from the ground up. So, for example, from the top down, I would really love to see more companies be more proactive in over communicating. I've never seen anything like this when I go through the intense attention senior leaders do to provide as much context where useful. Oftentimes, at least from my previous experiences, the rule is less words, less mistakes. But then, if we continue that narrative and we assume that your workforce is intelligent and really aligns and wants to support your company, then by intentionally making them know less, impedes them and avoids giving them that opportunity to actually help.
Right.
Right. So if you over communicate, not say that you spill all the beans, right? There are certain things that you can't share, right? But if you are able to give them enough context that makes them feel that they're part of the journey, they're part of the change, that gives them a sense of ownership of the outcomes. Another way is to solicit feedback, but not as a tick box exercise. Like, did you ask peers through surveys and then end up not processing the data from the survey? When you ask people for feedback, it's very important you close the loop, right? That you acknowledge what you've heard, you've commit on certain actions. You probably cannot satisfy every single sentiment, right?
Yes.
But then you focus on the things that truly matter. If it's the common thing people say, then that would essentially be the loudest sentiment. Then you pick a handful of those and then commit that for the year. And then commit to revisiting their feedback maybe next year when you run your HR survey or your engagement survey.
Yeah.
That gives people a sense of moving forward, right? So we've spoken, you've listened, this is what we were able to achieve. And then next year, when I get invited to speak again, I would, because I saw actions are taken for my feedback.
Yes.
On the ground, if you flip the story, it now sits with your first level managers, your first level leaders, their ability to really open a space for people to speak without fear of retaliation, consequences, judgment,
Yes.
right? There's no stupid idea,
Yes.
right? There's no stupid questions.
Mhm.
People can just ask, and we provide context. We solicit
Mhm.
feedback.
Mhm.
You have to also consider that we in the Philippines tend to not speak if you're not spoken to.
Uh-huh.
So you, like I said, you open that opportunity for people to speak their minds. So people can see that leadership shadow that, hey, my lead actually wants to hear from me.
Mhm.
And not simply because I'm the person who's not speaking or I'm shy. No. I think the value of my ideas and thoughts are important. That's why my manager wants me to speak up. And when you start building that practice, then that practice becomes a norm.
Mhm.
And once it becomes a norm, then from bottom up and from top down, you have to nurture that norm. And because if not, then it just disbands into a fluke.
Right.
So you have to continue. Similar to here in the Philippines where people, mano. So you have to push that tradition. If not, then the next generation would just not do it anymore. Right. So
Right,
it's the same method
Uh-huh.
to instill the right practice and behaviors, support it genuinely, and then propagate so that it continues as a way of life inside the organization.
You're a dad, you're a gamer, and you're a leader as well. What is one non-negotiable habit that you have to maintain your sanity or to function at your best or peak capacity?
I give myself permission to live these lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I was telling my wife before we had kids, right? We had this heart to heart talk that before we got married, she was a mountain climber. She went to boxing. She likes to travel. She likes the beach. And I like my thing. I like long drives. I like to play games, right? And so when we come together under marriage, we don't forget who we are. So we still spend time. So I think last year I sponsored a Thailand trip for my wife to just go there and be with a friend just to enjoy what she used to enjoy before she was a mom or before she was a wife. And she reciprocates by letting me, play my games or over the weekend, she'll take care of the kids while I spend uninterrupt, uninterrupted time with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps us recharge as individuals because you don't feel a sense of being deprived because you have to trade this aspect of your life for this aspect. Although take it with a pinch of salt because that's easier said than done, right? Sometimes the work just overrides everything because it's a critical moment in your company or life moments happen when I had my second child early this year. So that really,
Congrats,
yeah, thanks.
baby.
Yeah, so my daughter. So when I had my daughter, it really shifted priorities. I had to give up a bit of gaming, a bit of work as well. I had
Yes.
to separate myself for 3 months from work to be able to take care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, I don't feel abruptly taken away from a role
Yes.
of fatherhood, right? Because I was given that space. And I think we have to be intentional, especially today, where our attentions get split through, different roles, whether you're a child, father, a parent, a gamer, a boyfriend, a spouse, a partner.
Yeah.
We really have to create space for us to be able to live those unique roles that help contribute to who we are.
Right.
Right?
Wow, I like that word, intentional. And also that you have your own individuality as a husband, your wife as a wife. So you have Vanson as the leader, Vanson as the father, Vanson as the gamer. um, Now let's go to the fast and fearless portion of this podcast. What is one small act a leader can do to make someone in the organization feel truly seen?
Have genuine conversations outside work. Building rapport outside work fuels the relationship that is beneficial to do great work. I said this before, but when I had a coachee who had a bit of challenge making connections, but
Yes.
during our one-on-ones, I asked them what wins, troubles, and fun they do. WTF, not what it's colloquially taken as, but we talk about their wins, troubles, and fun. And then they spoke about watching K-dramas. And I intentionally watched some of the episodes that my coachee was watching.
Wow.
So the next one-on-one, during that 10-minute fun break, we talk about who died, who's a new boyfriend of the protagonist or whatever. Just builds that connection. And when you build that connection, you deposit a currency into the psychological safety bank. And moving forward, when you have to withdraw, or you have to ask that person to do something extra, or you have to deliver critical feedback, there's something to withdraw.
Right.
Because you can't keep withdrawing
Right.
because that's going to burn bridges, right? So those little actions sprinkled across daily interactions, I think, is a very meaningful investment of your time and does not necessarily take too much away from you. Whether you spend some time in the elevator or share a meal during lunch break or on an outing, be present, be with your team, and really leave your leadership hat on the table, because there are some moments you don't have to show up as a leader. You just have to show up as a peer.
Wow. Thank you for giving us a framework, WTF.
That's from Coach Chuck as well.
Thank you, Coach Chuck.
So borrowing it and really applying this to my day-to-day.
I think this is something that my team can apply. Currently, we're doing the gratitude circle. So everyone will share what she's grateful for in her personal life and in professional life. So maybe we can add the wins, troubles, fun. WTF. Okay. If every leader would stop for 60 seconds to listen to this podcast, what is that one message that you would like to share with them?
I'd like all of us, including myself, to reflect why we chose the leadership route. Not everybody is given that unique opportunity to lead people. And with that responsibility comes the responsibility and accountability to shape how they show up at work, how they show up at home. You know, the fine line between work and home is quite shady, and our ability to show up with purpose is driven by the why behind why we chose to lead people in the first place.
Right.
If you took this route because it's the shortest way to get a promotion, I would like to ask you to do a reflection of how has that been playing out for you? Because it's a very selfless role, I think, to lead. And you have to admit that you can be a selfless person to be able to lead people well. And I think that's a common denominator of many brilliant leaders that you see in the world today. And if you are, then you're in the right path. And I hope that you could influence more people to do the same.
What is one thing that you wish more leaders admitted or openly talked about but don't?
That is lonely at the top.
Tell me more about it.
So, in my recent trip in KL, right, there was a friend. There's a seatmate of mine who turned into a friend. His name is Fauzan, from Indonesia, and he spoke about this concept of loneliness that seems to creep into the world of leaders. You know, sometimes when you work and you're in your room and there are things that only you can see or you can know, you can't help but feel like if everything leans or if everything depends on me, who do I depend on? Right? Like, who can I lean in on if everybody's been leaning on me? So there's that sense of, it could be physical loneliness. It could be cognitive loneliness because you have nobody to bounce your ideas with because nobody should know what you know. You know that dilemma, right? And I think it puts a toll on many leaders, right? Which they don't speak about because it somehow can be seen as weakness. But I think you mentioned this a while back, if you are to borrow your words, there is power in being able to practice quiet leadership for yourself, personal leadership, that you can tell yourself, this is fine. It's okay to make mistakes. I don't need to know everything. I can do my best. and take the wins and the losses as they come, right? Any winning moment is a defining moment, and any failure is a learning moment. You don't mix, right? Winning can be a learning moment, but failure should not be a defining moment, right? Things happen. You're not perfect,
Yes.
right? And if we're able to embrace that kind of thinking, that there's power in being with yourself and making peace with that, and being able to open and reach out for help, I think many more leaders would find joy in what they do, which I'm happy that I am able to do that to my, I would say, my close-knit country leadership team, where we could share parental challenges all the way to professional challenges.
Amazing. Yes, we hear that it's lonely at the top, and it could be cliche, right? And then one leader actually shared that with me, and I felt why she was lonely at the top. So thank you. I hope more leaders could, like what you said, could talk more about that so that they could find joy in it collectively as leaders, right?
Yeah.
Share best practices.
Exactly. Like, you can only have a handful of leaders in an organization, but if you
Right.
remove the organization from the picture, then you have a circle of leaders,
Right.
right? And this is why I personally endeavor to meet more people outside the organization, and of course within Canva, because they are my peers. Right?
Yes.
And every leader is also an employee. We report to
Right,
somebody, even if you're already at the top, right? You
Uh-huh.
report to your board or to your investors, right? So
Mhm.
never, I guess it's easier said than done, but never look at your role as a leader in isolation. I think people look up to you
Mhm.
for guidance and for help, and you can't pour from an empty cup, so you
Mhm.
also have to refill yourself, right? And
Yes.
so doing that first step, which is to build connections, build rapport with those that share your challenges and share your life in a way, is going to help you tremendously.
Amazing. So Vanson, this is our first time to meet in person.
Yeah.
When we I think we met on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. And then we just had a very few short chat on LinkedIn. So I'm very curious, what made you say yes to guest on the Fearless Possibilities podcast?
I think I was hinged on the word possibilities. I took coaching, or I tried to get my ICF certification during the pandemic, and there's this mindset shift that is being taught in that training to look at what's positive and what's possible. And that stuck with me as I reflect on how my life has unfolded as a son, into a independent professional, into a husband, into a father, and now as a leader of a world-class organization like Canva. And I think I wouldn't have able to traverse this life if not for that positivity to look at what's possible. It's very easy to fall trap and say and play victim, that I can't do that because of this, or I can't achieve that because of that. But if you just zoom in on what's positive, what's possible, what can you do, what little actions you can take that over time can compound into something much larger, you'll be surprised with what you can achieve and what you can do.
Amazing. So you were drawn to the word possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's an affirmation for us that we chose the right name for the podcast.
Oh, yeah, I think you did. And I think being aware that you can embrace fear, but also embrace the courage to go beyond it. Because I think that's, I guess, the initial blocker of pursuing something that you've not tried is the fear of failure. And I think there's power in giving yourself the permission to fail, because you'll never really enjoy the perks of success if you don't know how failure feels, right?
Agree. So Vanson, in the couple of minutes that we're having this conversation, I was the one who gained a lot of value because I've been asking you out of curiosity and out of my hunger to learn from a leader. So I want to give you a chance to ask me a question.
Yeah. How do you define that you're done already with what you're doing? You've been doing this for years, nah? So you've been writing this book of what Sha can do for the world. When would you know that you're on your last page?
Wow. Wow, that was the first time I was asked that question. How would you know I'm done? I think I'll never be done. I'll never be done because I'll never be done playing. This is play for me, which is something that I really, really love to do. Now, if we zoom in on one particular thing that I'm doing, let's say I'm writing a book. So, Sha, how do you know you're done with that book? No more corrections, no more additions. And my answer would be I would ask myself, did I give my best, my 100%? Because the only thing I can control is my input. Did I put so much love to it? Was the love that I put into it enough? And then if the answer is yes, then it's done. And also, I think there's this famous saying that artists don't ship, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the exact saying. So for me, there is a timeline.
Yeah.
We'll have an event in September 10. And then the idea to write a book came to mind around, I think, second week or third week of July. So I have a deadline, right? I have a timeline. If I want to launch the book in September 10, I have to be done with the writing and editing by this time to allow enough time for the printer to print the book.
Yeah.
So I will give my 100% within that time. And if I did, which I always do, then I'm done.
Yeah. I think it's valuable to have that awareness of when to put the dot to end the sentence, right? Because at least for me, I ask myself that question as well. Like, when would you say that you've done all that you can? And for me, I'm still discovering that because I wouldn't say that I've been doing this enough to know that I've done enough, right? But I like your analogy. And nobody stops you from writing a second book, right? So you can be on the last page of one book, but you definitely start a new one. But thank you for letting me be part of some of your books, right? In this 35-minute conversation. I think allowing me to hear myself speak also gave me a breathing room to appreciate what has transpired in the last 6.5 years, which is not easy to do because you might not have the time to really go through a deep thought reflection. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Wow. Thank you, Vanson. Yes. I think that's one of the most beautiful feedback I've received from the podcast. Like it's like a reflection for you. It's like a breather for you to take a look back at what transpired in the past already.
Yeah. Yep. It's easy to look forward, right?
Yes.
That's why when you drive a car, it's easy to drive, but it's hard to park. Because like it's hard to look back. Right. And so but thank you. It's been a delightful experience.
Yay!
Right.
Same here. The pleasure is mine. Thank you, Vanson. Cheers tayo.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning in to the Fearless Possibilities Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I have a small favor to ask. Please like this video and subscribe. It's a simple way to help us reach and inspire more leaders. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Done? All right, thank you so much. Again, this is Sino. Stay human and keep unlocking possibilities. See you in our next episode.